time and say welcome to the quarterly partners meeting. For those of you for whom this is the first time, we started doing this because so many people are overlapping in their interests and their dedication to being part of all of these different um, groups that bubble up and kind of make the fabric of arts and culture in New Bedford. So this is with the Seaport Cultural District and the Creatives Consortium, which Margo chairs. I'm the director of the AHA program, so this is the quarterly meeting for the AHA partners, as well as Lindsay Compton, who's representing the National Park Service and the park partners that have sort of met to talk about programming. So while I have your attention, and Margo is really busy admitting people because she's hosting this Zoom, I want to talk a little bit about the AHA themes. It's the time of year we all love and adore in terms of planning the next year. Actually, this is now time to plan the next year. So the themes that we know we want to do next year, it's February through December, every second Thursday. The themes that we know we want to do are April, we always do something with Sustainable South Coast and usually work with UMass and do the People Powered Parade. If we are all back in person, which we hope next year with schools and the service clubs from UMass Dartmouth. We missed this year and it was actually very sad. We did really miss it. May is always something about sort of New Bedford and arts. Hopefully it will happen in conjunction with the Spring Arts Week, that there's another group of us working on. If you want to work on Spring Arts Week, let Margo or myself know. June is Pride Month, and that has been great. And we're hoping to go back to a huge block party and have that opportunity. But that's an important month for us. July, Kids Rule is coming back. Everyone missed Kids Rule this year, and so we're ready to go. And then August, we try to work with some of the themes that the partners are doing. And this year, DATMA is doing shelter as their theme. So I don't know if we're going to be Give Me Shelter or not, but we'd like to do something with shelter. So that leaves September, October, November, December kind of open for ideas, as well as February and March. February has nodded in some ways to Black History Month. We've done Heroes and Sheroes, which has been fun for the last couple of years. December, we try to do something that's celebratory, so Starry Night or City Sidewalks or something that's light and fun and bright. But so if you have ideas or you have suggestions or you know of a celebration, tomorrow is starring the Star Store because it's the 20th anniversary of the Star Store campus being downtown. And then in November, it's the anniversary of the national park. So those were natural things for us to kind of land on and work collaboratively and have a big umbrella for people. So if you know things that we haven't thought about, usually we do this in person. We have a brainstorming session, but here we are on Zoom. So please write to me, or if you have things that we should think about and talk about in kind of community and kind of give some light and attention to, please let me know. Because that would be enormously helpful. You can either put it, talk to me, the AHA address, I think most people know it, it's on the website, AHA coordinator at southcoastcommunityfoundation.org, southcoastcf.org. So, or the phone numbers in on the website. So love to hear from you. And I don't think we have any other news. Margo, are you still admitting people? Rapidly. Okay, so I'll keep talking. So one of the things we talked about doing is, this is usually a quarterly partner meeting. We talked about getting together maybe on the second Wednesday, maybe another date in October to kind of have some coordinated conversation about what people are doing for the holidays with decorations or special programming. Last year, the Star Store did Sparkle and kept us all on our toes for the pandemic. That was great. But there was also a winter placemaking project. The parklets may be back. There are lots of different ideas to sort of, we wanted to have one kind of conversation so that we can think about marketing it and talking about it. So we would like to do the same kind of idea about this kind of collaborative approach to the holiday season, whether it's November, December, January with the, I see Jocelyn Nunes on this with the Moby Dick Marathon, but whatever that is, whatever that piece is, we really think that going out, particularly in the social media platform, as a collaborative group with one hashtag is a really helpful thing to do. You all know that, I mean, if you use hashtag in social media, not only, the more you collaborate, the better off you are in terms of sharing your audiences and getting views. So we'd like to kind of push that kind of idea forward. and make it our rallying call. So I give you my partner, my colleague, and my friend, Margo, who will now introduce our guest speaker. Thank you. I'll mute myself.
Thank you, Lee. I was trying to mute myself and I muted you instead. So sorry about that. Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Arts and Culture Partners meeting of New Bedford. I am Margo Saulnier, and I'm the creative strategist for New Bedford Creative, and I also manage the Seaport Cultural District. I am going to ask, since we do have guest speakers today, and I know many of you, but there are some new names here, if you could please put your name and organization and email in the chat, because we will be following up with this meeting with some materials for you. So that would be great. And then while I'm going to give a brief introduction, and while I am introducing our two guest speakers today, I am going to ask either Michael or Anne, whichever one of you is sharing your screen, you can go ahead and start making that happen. So I just want to talk a little bit as a reminder that New Bedford Creative operates out of New Bedford Economic Development Council. We manage the city's Arts, Culture, and Tourism Fund, and along with a 24-member creative consortium, we are responsible for implementing the city's arts and culture plan. And for those keeping track, we are in year 3 of this approximate 10-year plan. In the Arts and Culture Plan, there are 9 major cultural strategies, and one of them is to increase arts funding, collaboration, and resource sharing to grow the operating capacity of arts and culture organizations and artists. So, with this in mind, it's my honor to announce today that New Bedford has been chosen as the place-based pilot for creating connection. What is creating connection, you may ask? It is a social movement and messaging framework that draws on insights from local and national research to help make arts and culture a recognized, valued, and expected part of everyday life. And the Creating Connection activities in New Bedford will be led by a team from Arts Midwest. Arts Midwest is a regional arts organization based in Minnesota that offers many programs within its 9-state service region, and it also runs some nationwide programs. So for those of you asking why Arts Midwest, they run some nationwide programs. The equivalent for us would be NEFA, New England Foundation for the Arts, who specialize in the geography region of New England, but also run their own national programs. So it's my honor to introduce 2 experts from Arts Midwest who will provide a brief overview of the Creating Connection and the opportunity here in New Bedford. Anne Romens is the Vice President of Revenue and Communications, and Michael Johnson is the Community Engagement Manager. Anne and Michael, welcome to the Partners Meeting of New Bedford.
Thanks, Margo. Hi, everyone. It is really exciting to be here today. I'm Anne. I use she, her pronouns, Vice President for Revenue and Communication at Arts Midwest. And Michael and I are going to sort of tag team the presentation a little bit here to introduce you all to Creating Connection and how we want to hopefully connect with many of you over the course of the next year or so in sort of thinking through what this might mean for the New Bedford community. So I'll let Michael introduce himself as well.
Hi, folks. Michael Johnson here, Community Engagement Manager at Arts Midwest, and I use he, him pronouns. Great to be here.
So before we dive into the presentation content, just a couple of housekeeping items. This may be standard protocol for you all already, but what we are hoping is that if anyone has questions or technical difficulties, that you'll sort of direct those to the chat during the presentation itself. We do have time held at the end for questions. If there are like burning questions that are really getting in the way of folks sort of accessing the content, then by all means, we can pause our presentation and try to address those in the moment. But anything that's a little bit more substantive, we'll try to save for the end. Couple other sort of housekeeping items. You may know this, the meeting is being recorded, so you'll have access to that. We also are going to share a PDF version of all of these slides with Margo and the team. So if you're looking for slide decks or want to go back and reference something, that will be available to everyone who's on the call here today. Just a super brief thank you to the folks at New Bedford Creative. Margo and her team have been incredible in helping us think through how we could support this community in coming together around some of this research and some of the recommendations that we have been sharing for the past few years with organizations across the country. Also a big thank you to Bar Foundation, who is the supporter of all of this effort in New Bedford and additional statewide effort. We've been working with Bar Foundation for the past few years and just think that they are incredible partners. So huge thanks to both teams for having us here today. So what we are going to try to accomplish in the next 20 minutes or so is a slightly ambitious agenda where we're going to walk you through some research findings and recommendations from a research project that we launched a number of years ago and have been building on ever since. So that's sort of that research overview moment. It really is meant to just be a teaser for you all. We are planning a longer research sort of deep dive session. And we have a poll at the end of the presentation today to get your availability on when we could come together to spend even more time digging through that information. But a little preview of that research and some of those recommendations today. Then we're going to shift into a moment of sort of keeping it real, giving you, again, just a couple insights into what this research project and these recommendations have done in other communities, how other organizations have worked with the information that we're about to share with you. Then again, another little preview of what's next in New Bedford and a couple different ways to get involved in the project if you're so interested and inclined. And then some Q&A time held at the end for anyone who might have questions.
Great, thanks so much, Anne. So as Anne mentioned, this is going to be very high-level overview, highlighting the highlights, if you will, of the research and recommendations that we have as a part of creating connection. So the process started about 5 years ago with a national partner, and we set out to really kind of, are there echoes? Can you hear me now? Okay. So we set out to kind of seek to understand public value as it relates to the public's participation in arts and cultural activities. So we have 5 kind of core findings from this research. The first being that connection really is that key public value motivator for people's participation in arts and cultural activities. We found that people kind of define connection in 4 key ways. So connection to themselves, connection to their friends and family, connections to others, and connection to their cultural heritage. And we found that this notion of connection was really kind of the thing that got people comfortable and excited to show up, not just to formal activities, but to informal arts activities. The second key finding with our research was around the terms that we use and how we talk about arts and culture. So instead of using the typical kind of arts and culture moniker, we found that the public, through our research, actually felt like creative expression and creativity was actually a more welcoming, inclusive term for people to engage in different activities. So we felt like, we often talk about it as kind of being a door, right? So you think about there being a door that one says creative expression on it, one says arts and culture. The numbers just show that more people kind of see themselves as creative and also kind of value creative activities and creative expression more so than the traditional arts and culture moniker, which in some ways can feel sort of elitist to some folks. And the third key finding that we came out with the research was around the benefits. So we actually found that people believe that they would be happier, healthier, and less stressed if they actually took part in arts and culture activities. They also believed that children and youth actually derive a lot of different benefits from arts and culture, including appreciating diversity. And the fourth key finding with our research centers around audiences, and there's a lot more to dig into here, including some data specifically from Massachusetts, where we get into the creative and lifestyle attributes of folks. But nationally, we found that there were 4 kind of key demographic areas where we talk about these as kind of the opportunity areas. These are not your traditional kind of museum goers or season ticket holders, but these are people that we feel like when framing it sort of as this creative expression and broader frame, are more likely to participate. And so these are younger people, women, parents of children, and also millennials. And these are people that, again, feel like creative expression and creativity are important in their lives. And then lastly, the fifth major finding was around barriers. So not surprisingly, time and money were viewed as the biggest barriers to people's participation in arts and cultural activities. And while there's ways we can creatively get around that, there's also findings that we discovered that people are actually finding a gap with the experiences that they want to have in arts and cultural activities and what they're finding. So people are wanting active experiences, dynamic experiences for them to socialize and engage with others and connect. But what they described in our research as finding is more passive experiences. And so by just changing what we're offering and how we're framing it, we feel like more people would participate. So really quickly, again, we have a ton more to dig into, but just to overview those key top line findings being, again, connection, why we call the program Creating Connection. That is the key kind of public value that motivates people's participation as it relates to arts and cultural activities. And they define connection in those 4 different ways. The second key finding was around how we talk about arts and culture, instead calling it creative expression, that being kind of the more inclusive, welcoming term for what we have to offer. The third is around the benefits. So the fact that people actually feel like they would be happier, healthier, and less stressed by engaging creatively. And the fourth is around those key opportunity segments in our demographics, those younger people, women, parents of children, and also millennials. And then lastly, around the barriers, again, time and money are viewed as barriers, the idea that the arts are viewed as a nicety and a luxury, and also this opportunity to switch how we're talking about our programming and the fact that people really want more active, dynamic opportunities to connect. And with that, I will turn it over to Anne.
Thanks, Michael. Can you actually hop back to that other slide for just a second? So I mentioned that this is a preview, and that is like the speediest version we have ever given of these research recommendations or findings. And that is intentional, because what we are hoping is that you all will be able to join us for a much more in-depth overview of our research methodology, where we explain kind of how we arrived at these findings, where we chat a little bit more about sort of the different ways in which the data has reinforced these different sort of findings that we shared with you all. So lots more to say about all of that. And I know that it is healthy to be skeptical of someone just coming in and saying, here's what I learned on the internet. So what we really want you to have as a takeaway here is that this is just sort of the tip of the iceberg when it comes to walking through the Creating Connection material with us. And what we are hoping is that you can join us for that full session where we do kind of go step by step, show you the data behind these findings, talk about what it means, talk about why we were asking these questions, and really dig into what it means for a community or an organization to think about them. The sort of heart of the program is to support organizations and support communities into rethinking or sort of digging deeper into questions about community relevance and how we can be organizations that are really supportive of what it is that our communities are looking for, how arts, culture, and creativity can respond to the things that people care most about in their lives, and then what we can do with that information to become that much more relevant in supporting our communities and being really vibrant and creative places. So again, just a total teaser on these research findings, but we wanted to just give you that little preview with the hope that you'll join us for that full session and really walk through it all with us. So what we're going to pivot to right now is that Keeping It Real section, where now that we've gotten that high level overview of those research findings, we can show you just a little bit about kind of what we've been doing nationally and in the state of Massachusetts to share this information. Then we'll kind of give you another little preview of a tool that we often use with organizations and helping them sort of take what can be somewhat theoretical concepts and make them much more practical for your messaging, your marketing, your communications planning, and then show some examples of kind of like the before and after of what organizations have done with access to that full training session, as well as some of the additional tools that we have in our toolkit. So if we could hop to the next slide, just a sort of general overview of what we've been up to with this project in the last 6 years. We have taken that full research presentation as well as really in-depth sort of cohort peer training programs. And we have supported arts organizations in thinking through the concepts and applying them to their work. And so what you can see there is just a shortened list of some of the national conferences that we've attended. A lot of the different service organizations have found value in sort of thinking through this idea as a way of generating greater public will for arts, culture, and creativity in their communities or in their sectors. And then in those cohort programs, thinking even more specifically about shifts that organizations might make or communities might make to really dig into those questions of relevance. So one thing that we wanted to make sure that you all were sort of tracking here is that first cohort program that we launched in Massachusetts, which is something that we did over the course of a 3-year period. It wrapped toward the end of 2019. And we worked with the 10 organizations that you see on this list here to really think about the different ways in which they could collaborate with one another, the different ways in which they could apply the research findings and recommendations to their programming, to their marketing, to their messaging, what it might mean for how they are thinking differently about questions of community relevance and audience engagement. And then over the course of the sort of next year or so, it's our hope that we can connect you all with some of these organizations to hear even more in depth about their experience, tap into some of their insights from the project, what they did, and what difference it's made. So this is kind of the first test list of who participated in the program the first time around. Was intentionally sort of geographically statewide with the idea that we were going to be connecting with folks from across disciplines. And they have become just an incredible group of arts leaders who have worked with this material and are really eager to connect you all with the insights and experiences that they had. So that's kind of our alumni list, and you may recognize a few names on there, and they're just great folks. So excited to bring them back into the project as we connect with all of you. The next slide is, again, just a teaser. We've got a number of tools that we have developed to take those sort of theoretical research concepts and turn them into something that is a little bit more practical for everyday use. The teeny tiny little message framework that you see on your screen here, which we promise you there's a much bigger version that you can all access, is the sort of main tool that we use to say, given all of the research that we conducted, here's what we recommend that folks think about when it comes to messaging the role and value of arts, culture, and creativity in their organizations and in their communities. So it kind of starts with some of those values that Michael was referencing. At the bottom there, you can see this concept of connection that really came through when we were surveying and doing focus groups around what people valued most in their lives, where they were saying things like family and relationships, their health and well-being, this concept of learning and self-improvement. So those are kind of the sort of foundational values that we uncovered in our research that we think offer up some really great opportunity areas for arts and cultural organizations to kind of tap into when they're speaking about what they can contribute to people's lives. Then we go up to the top with that core message. And this is not at all meant to be, sort of lifted and placed verbatim into anyone's marketing materials, but just the concept that, we were finding connection through creative expression or creativity, creative experiences, that helps people build powerful connections with each other, with their communities and the world around them, with their cultural heritage. So again, just sort of thinking through those themes and the power and role that creativity plays to bring us together. And then in that middle section, you can see the benefits. So Michael shared just again a preview of that sort of benefits research that we were uncovering, which is essentially that people feel like when they have greater opportunities or more opportunities to participate in creative activities, that it contributes to their sense of growth. It gives them a chance to express their own voice or hear the voice of others. It contributes to their sense of well-being, and it contributes to their sense of happiness. And I think this is something that we especially saw come through during the pandemic in moments of social isolation, when we know that folks were leaning toward arts and cultural activities as a way to improve their mental health, as a way to sort of connect across distance. And there's been a lot of research that has come out in the pandemic about the real power of creativity to sort of build these bridges even when we can't physically be together. So these are just, again, some of the concepts that folks can tap into when you're creating marketing or communications messages for your own organization or community-wide, when you're sort of explaining the power and role of the creative sector. It can be really helpful to dive into some of these benefits, because this is what was coming through in our research that people already believe to be true about creativity. And the more that we can connect our messaging with what people already believe to be true, the more we're just going to kind of leverage the power of that messaging, as opposed to spending a lot of time trying to convince someone of something. So this is, again, just a preview of what we have to share, but this message framework is one of the tools that we'll bring to you all in that full training. And then a couple examples of what we have seen other organizations do with this messaging.
Yeah, so the first example here comes from Oregon, and this is an example on the left was where they started this brochure. And you can see from the brochure, it's traditional in the sense that it's kind of what they're asking. The call to action is they want to raise money, and they're focusing on the artists, the folks on stage, which is good. But what Creating Connection has taught us is that it's more powerful to have people reflected in materials so that they can see themselves in the experiences and demonstrate that connection. So you see, for example, them swapping out some language and including, in this case, it's a little bit more verbatim than we would, encourage, but they're using the connection language and the community, and then demonstrating that with their imagery. And so one of the first things that we tell folks is to just flip the camera around and show the audience in your imagery. And I think having them smile and connect in that way is powerful. And we're still tracking the progress on this, but they did experience raising more funds from this switch. Another example actually is here in Massachusetts. So folks are probably familiar with Featherstone Center for the Arts on Martha's Vineyard. So this screenshot is of their website before going through the cohort with us. And in addition to being, visually, it's an older Google site. It's also a little information heavy and static, with just showing the exterior of, while it's a beautiful building, not many people engaging and a little too much text. So what we, through the program, taught folks is just, again, to demonstrate that connection. And you can see them also using the connection language, talking about what impact that has on folks, seeing people, touching and holding hands and being in space in person and being inside of a building, and showing what kinds of experiences you can have and how you can create community through the arts. And they actually change their mission and values as well. And so a much cleaner and more visually appealing example. And then next, I think Anne was going to talk about Fitchburg, also in Massachusetts.
Yeah, so another local example, Fitchburg Art Museum, they have really tapped into the FAM acronym that is logical for Fitchburg Art Museum, but have then sort of built in this sort of family moment with that acronym. And that became a really core part of their brand and the new identity that they built over the course of their time with us, which was to really lean into connecting with kids, connecting with family, tapping into that really resonant value that we were finding in our research around what is it that people want to do when they go into a museum or when they go into a theater, and they really want that connection. So Fitchburg really kind of tapped into that and have been referring to their annual report as a family album. They've been using language about connecting people with their families, their friends, creating new and memorable experiences. The power of memory is another really key idea for us in this research, and came through in a number of different ways. And again, we'll provide lots more context on that in that full presentation. But just another example from the folks at Fitchburg as to kind of how they've started to incorporate that concept of connection and family time into the ways in which they talk about the value that they bring to the Fitchburg community. Another example is from the POW Art Center. So we started working with the POW Art Center, which is the arts organization that is part of the umbrella Boston Chinatown Neighborhood Center organization. So we started working with those folks right as they were sort of opening up. So the beauty of that project was that POW wasn't in the moment of changing a mission statement or changing marketing copy from a before to an after. They were really just starting fresh because they were sort of building as we came into the program with them. And that really allowed them to think through what this message framework and what these recommendations might mean for every single facet of their communications. And so what you see here is kind of below that POW Art Center logo, you can see some of the sort of ways in which they talk about their role and their value to the Chinatown community. And they talk about creativity as vital to the health and well-being of individuals and families. Again, you can kind of see this messaging pop up again and again. They also talk about the Art Center as empowering creativity, connection, learning, and support. Again, sort of tapping into some of those benefits that we were finding really resonated with folks in our research. And then what you see on the right side of the screen in those little tiles is actually a screenshot from the Creating Connection website, where you can dive in and specifically click on programming and see exactly what the folks at POW Art Center did to incorporate the findings and recommendations into their sort of after school programming, and how they brought creativity into what was otherwise a more sort of traditional homework based approach. Again, you can see kind of what they did with social media and how they took the concepts and started to apply them to the different social platforms that they were using at the time. You can see how they have tracked the message framework and findings in their evaluation, and how they approach looking at events and impact assessment through a lens of, are we giving people opportunities to connect with one another? What is the value of them connecting with one another in the space? And then the last example that I captured here, although I think there are even a couple more on the POW Art Center sort of case study on our website, is a video that they created. And that again just kind of shows you how they are using that messaging to talk about their role and their contributions to their community. So highly recommend checking out POW Art Center. And again, we are hoping to connect you all with their team to sort of hear even more directly from them about what they've been doing since we captured this case study. I think that is the last of our examples. So now we want to move into a quick moment of sort of preview of what is next for New Bedford. And we've got a couple different opportunities that we are bringing to the New Bedford community. The first is that we are hoping to work with you all, as well as others in the New Bedford creative sector, on a shared community-wide messaging campaign. And so this is a project that will likely kick off in full later in sort of spring of 22, where we will be pulling together focus groups, working with a communications firm, and really trying to co-create with you all what a shared message campaign might look like in support of New Bedford's creative sector. And this was an opportunity that we have been chatting with Margo about quite a bit, the opportunity to sort of tap into this collective power that you all have. I was actually really impressed with what I was hearing at the start of the call, where it sounds like you all are collaborating with one another in a number of different ways on different kinds of events and planning. This is just sort of one more opportunity to kind of bring that work together and say, is there some sort of public facing campaign message that we could co-create, informed by Creating Connection, but also informed by all of the insights and all of the work that you all are doing locally, to give it that local flair, to make sure that it's relevant to you all, that could really help to convey, either from a tourism angle or from a local engagement angle, just the power and role of the creative sector in New Bedford. So that's that shared messaging campaign. We're hoping to engage you all as well as others in kind of coming together and thinking through what that might mean for New Bedford, how we could use it, and what those key messages might be. So that's opportunity number one. More information will be coming out about that, but the other opportunity that's going to kick off a little bit sooner is an opportunity to be part of a peer cohort. So like that initial group of 10 in Massachusetts who engaged in training programs, accessed grant resources to sort of implement this set of findings and recommendations into their organizations. We're kind of hitting reboot, except this time we are thinking of it as a place-based strategy. So that's what feels really exciting to me, is that last time we were sort of statewide working with a lot of different organizations. They're fantastic. Now we have the opportunity of working really specifically in the New Bedford community, coming together as a local group, tapping into all of the collaboration that already exists here, and supporting organizations in either working together or working kind of within their own structure to think through how they might apply the findings and recommendations. So what we are planning on is a simple, very simple application process that we will have more information out to you all about in the next couple of weeks. We'll likely be selecting about 7 organizations to participate in that project. It is a little bit more time intensive than the sort of broader co-creation conversations that we want to have about the shared messaging campaign, because it does have some training components to it. There will be some technical assistance. There will be some grant support that comes along with it to help you really apply those concepts to your organization. So we're kind of hoping that you all can do your own assessment on what feels like a better fit for your organization, which opportunity is going to be best for you as you think about the different ways in which this might sort of land in New Bedford. But I think we can sort of pause on most of our presentation. We've got one more slide here to share, which is, again, we keep talking about this sort of teaser, that this is a teaser for a bigger presentation. So what you see here and what we will put in the chat as well as send out separately is a link to a poll to capture your availability for that broader overview of all of our research findings and recommendations, where we dig into that methodology and we really talk about why we're doing this and what it means. We'll share even more examples of how other organizations have used the material, kind of those like before and after moments, or again, in some of those like starting fresh moments. We will also be sharing more information about applying to that sort of intensive peer learning cohort program. And in the meantime, we just encourage you all to check out creatingconnection.org, where we've got more information about the research. We've got access to the full toolkit. We've got lots of case studies or success stories, we call them, on our website that kind of show you exactly what some organizations have done with the material, what difference it's made, what their perspective is on it all. So happy to shift to questions if you all have them, and I'll pause talking while we wait for questions to roll in.
While we're waiting for any questions, I cannot express how excited I am to be launching this project at this time. You know, as we come out of the pandemic, we're still in a recovery phase, and this is the perfect time to, you know, tout all of the wonderful organizations and people, talented people who live here in New Bedford. And I also want to point out, because I neglected to mention it earlier, that this opportunity is providing us the opportunity to pay for our senior creative fellow, Jasmine Baird, who many of you know and love. She will now be full-time for the next year. So we're both going to be operating out of the New Bedford Creative Office at the Quest Center, as well as doing some remote work. But I'm very excited that this provides the opportunity for her and that she'll be working with all of you. So with that,
can I ask a question?
Go ahead, Don. Yeah, thanks.
Thank you, Michael and Anne. That was a nice presentation. And I was just stuck on that part where we start participating, and we can participate this way or this way, right? So I come from a smaller organization, and you know, when I looked at that, I thought, oh, I can't spare 7 to 10 hours a month. You know, it's me doing everything. So have you seen ways in your doing this in other places where smaller organizations can work alongside larger organizations that might have different, more staff resources assigned to be able to spend that much time on an initiative like this. Because otherwise it seems like we could end up in these silos of all the small people do this project and all the big organizations do this project.
That's a great question, Don. And we want to be really cautious of not sort of recreating silos that already exist or reinforcing them. I think we're open. We are open to figuring out how to make this work best for New Bedford. So we have had teams as small as, 2. That was the Featherstone Center for the Arts team, 2 full-time staff members, as well as some volunteers. They participated in the program, and I think there was a question of capacity at times. And so we learned how to navigate that, and we learned how to sort of scale the project to be responsive to how they could participate. And we would welcome a conversation sort of specifically with you, or maybe with you and Margo, to kind of navigate what that might look like, so that that if that is sort of the best way for you to engage, that that we are creating a responsive way of working with it. So don't be turned away by that sort of more intense cohort opportunity. Right now, we would prefer to have a conversation with you all to see if we could make it work.
Lee, do you have a question?
I'll step in if no one else is going to do it. So this project that we did this summer, the Summer in the Seaport, which was kind of a collective marketing approach, we are starting to be in conversation with some folks at UMass Dartmouth to work with us on data collection, which was, the report was great, the participation was fabulous, the response was great, but we didn't really have the capacity to really do fabulous and ongoing and parallel data collection. And I think we will start to get that as this partnership goes forward. And so my question for you is, this will start this semester. Is there anything from your research base or your research protocol that we might be able to incorporate to kind of get a head start on not only who the visitors are, but who is actually using our facilities? Because it's not just a tourism approach, it's going to be an across the board approach.
We would love to connect with them. That sounds like a fantastic opportunity to make sure that this isn't something that just sort of lands in New Bedford for a little while and then sort of walks away. That is not at all. Let's chat about that. Let's connect with your research team. We can share all of our data and findings to date, and see if there are ways to sort of sync this up, and if there are ways that we can be supportive of your data collection efforts as well. That sounds great.
Thanks, Lee. Julia asked a question in the chat. Are the research studies held as trials open or closed? How do you go about finding participants? How is the data being measured in the context of culture?
Those are great questions, Juliet, and I invite you to join the full presentation to get even more insight into our research methodology. The quick way of answering that is that the bulk of this research was conducted a couple years ago via a combination of qualitative and quantitative approaches. So we did national surveys that were conducted by a polling firm. We did follow-up focus groups. We did executive interviews that was collected sort of nationwide, as well as in specific geographical areas where funders were really interested in looking at what their communities were going to say or do in response to our questions. Bar Foundation was one of the foundations that wanted that additional insight. So they came into the project and allowed us to do additional surveying, additional focus groups. And that's kind of the data set that Michael was chatting a little bit about, where we've got some insights into the audiences who place high value on creative activities in their lives. We've got that information nationally on sort of the demographics of audiences who participate. In Massachusetts, we've also got the psychographic analysis. So what makes people more or less inclined to engage in arts and creativity, and how can we think about that in structuring activities or thinking through the role of arts education in our schools. So while we don't have sort of an open survey that we are always collecting data, it would be a little bit difficult for us to keep up with constant analysis analysis on that. We do have a pretty firm foundation that we then build on with either additional investments in research from foundations, as well as an ongoing lit review. And as I mentioned, Michael and I were keeping up with sort of the literature coming out, the sort of research coming out during the height of lockdown, and the role of creativity in helping sort of reduce that sense of isolation that people were feeling, or contribute to sort of stronger mental health in moments of sort of deep loneliness. So lots to discuss there in terms of research methodology, and we will get more into that in the fall call.
Thank you, Anne. So I want to thank, we need to move on, but I want to thank both Anne and Michael for presenting today. There was another question about the Creating Connection 101. It will be 75 to 90-minute presentation. So when you're filling out that poll of availability, please keep that in mind. So thank you both so much. And we look forward to more working with you in the near future.
Great. Thank you.
We're moving on to our next segment, and I am going to pass the baton over to Lindsay Compton, who is the park ranger, one of the many great park rangers at the New Bedford Whaling National Historical Park. So Lindsay, if you want to come off mute, we can begin our partners updates with the National Park.
Hi, everyone. Thank you all for showing up today and being able to stay to 1:30, we hope. I'm the person you're getting all of the emails from, so this is what I look like. I am real. Shoot me an email if you have any questions about any of the content of the emails that I'm sending out. And Lee and Margo and I had a chance to meet, I guess it was 2 weeks ago now, feels like it was a long time ago. But really we're trying to synthesize the notes from these meetings. So if you have agenda items that are just kind of regular programming, like, you know, we have a story hour every Friday at 10 a.m. That's not necessarily something I need to update you all on, because you can just go to our website and check that out. But really kind of the purpose of sharing our program highlights is just letting everyone know what they can't miss over the next couple of months. So really we kind of see this time in sharing with partners like, okay, what are your highlights and what shouldn't we miss? And then if there are things for the notes, I'll send out a follow-up email with just kind of the everyday stuff if folks find that necessary. I didn't really get any emails. Margo sent one email from one of our partners, and she'll share that information out, but I didn't receive much information from folks. So I'm wondering if the notes may just not be necessary, but we'll kind of keep it going as we move through these quarterly partner meetings and figure out exactly what works for notes distribution. So I will start with my programs really quick. I have a short list of highlights, and then we kind of like popcorn when we meet in person. So if everybody is okay with popcorning, I will just randomly select someone out of the out of all of the squares that I see. Otherwise, you can just raise your hand in the chat and we can do it that way. Lee, did you have something you wanted to share?
I was going to say, not only the highlights, but as you popcorn around, one of the things that's worked really well is like if you're doing this fabulous program next summer and you're looking for collaborators, that's one of the great things that always happens in person. So if you're looking for partners, collaborators, if you think there's some sticky Velcro that we could all work together on, put it out there and see what happens. Thanks.
Yeah, thanks for that reminder, Lee. This isn't just a forum for us to come in and spill all the things that are going on, but also for us to come in and find people to partner with. So thank you for that reminder. Really quickly, the programs that the National Park has going on, and for those of you who don't know that the National Park, we're right on the corner of 2nd and William Street, kind of encompassing 33 acres of downtown. The National Historical Park includes places like the Co-Creative, I saw Dina on here, and it includes places like the Whaling Museum and us. We don't own all of the buildings within the National Park. We only own the 2 buildings we operate from, but the National Park really includes kind of all of us in the downtown area. So First things first, tomorrow for AHA, we have a really big celebration of Arthur and Jean Bennett. I'm sure many of you know them. They were very instrumental in ensuring that the national park was protected for our generation and for future generations. And we are coming up on our 25th anniversary of the establishment of the national park in November. And so tomorrow night from 5:30 to 7:30, we will be celebrating the Bennetts. And that'll be at Custom House Square. We want everybody to come out, just swing by if you have a chance to just say thanks for all the work that they've done and just say hi. We also have a program this Sunday, an alternative Moby Dick marathon by artist Salty G. And she will be doing alternative Moby Dick marathon, which includes these kind of amazing interpretations of Moby Dick by locals, folks who live in New Bedford or who work in New Bedford. And the idea is that most people haven't read Moby Dick. So what is your interpretation of the book based on what you know about that story? And it's a miniature marathon. So the Whaling Museum does this kind of, 27-hour through the night. We're going to be doing it in 30 minutes. So it's going to be really fun. And we have a short book that we'll be reading through, and it includes some really, really amazing tales about what the story means to people. So I encourage you to join us. After that, we'll be showing a short film that the artist Salty created with Charlie Chase. He's one of the descendants of whaling masters, a previous director of that organization. They created a short 18-minute film about what it means to kind of live in the legacy of a whaling master and what it means to be in relationship to the ocean. It's a really, really beautiful film, very weird. And I mean that in the absolute best way because I am a self-proclaimed weirdo myself. So I encourage you to join us for that. That'll be this Sunday from 2:30 to 4 in our park garden. So that will be outside, as well as the Bennett celebration that will be outside. On September 16th at 6:30 p.m., we will be introducing the new, she's not brand new, she's been the captain for a little while, but the captain of the schooner Ernestina, Captain Crinhuan, Tiffany Crinhuan. So join us in the garden on September 16th to meet the new captain of the schooner Ernestina and learn about the legacy of that ship. She'll be coming back in the spring of 2022 to New Bedford. She's being restored in Maine right now. We have documentaries coming up with co-hosted with the Fishing Heritage Center on September 17th at 7 p.m. That's a film about the Maine lobster lady. She's 101 years old now, and she's still a full-time lobster person. Is that the right term? I can't hear anyone, so I'm just going to assume yes because I see some smiles. And then last but certainly not least, right now it is the open call for our artists in residence places for next year for 2022. So in previous years, we've had applications on a rolling basis where we do 3 months at a time and then we select the artist every 3 months. We're trying to streamline that process a bit. So our application period is open right now. It opened on September 1st. It'll be open through October 31st. And it'll be for residencies in 2022. So we'll select the 4 artists that will work in the park for next year. And the hope is that we can get a little bit ahead of planning and not have to do a quarterly selection. And then residencies for 2023, the application will be open all year next year for residencies for the following year. So we're kind of getting on that yearly rotation. If you yourself are an artist or if you know any artists, please encourage them to apply. The application can be found on the website anyartist.org, ANYartist.org. But if you have any questions about that, just let me know. Let me see if there's anyone I wanted to popcorn to. So I'll just popcorn to Margo because you're the person who commented last in the comments box. Is that okay, Margo?
That's fine, Lindsay. So a quick update from Patty Thomas, who couldn't be here. She's the artistic director of Culture Park, that they have their 18th Short Plays Marathon currently scheduled for Saturday, November 20th at the New Bedford Whaling Museum Theater, and they will be presenting plays from Climate Change Theater Action, which is a global initiative to fight climate change and gain awareness of climate change and a perspective through theater. So that is, again, in addition to new plays by local and regional playwrights. So I am going to pass it on to one of the first people who joined this meeting, Lee Blake from New Bedford Historical Society. Lee, are you there? Can you take yourself off mute?
Hello, everyone. How are you? Good to see you today. So let me give you a quick announcement. September 18th is a Saturday. That is the anniversary date of when Frederick Douglass came to New Bedford. So for Douglass Day this year, we are having an old-fashioned fish fry, and that will be to raise money for the Douglass statue, which will go on Abolition Row Park. That is going to be on Cottage and Mill Street, and there's a flyer, so you'll get that flyer. But in addition, we'll be announcing and showing plans for the new Frederick Douglass School, which is going to be open in January with Alma Del Mar, and we'll be doing some programming for Black History Month. Lee will let you know. For Frederick Douglass, we're moving our readathon over to Alma Del Mar to celebrate the new school. So that's it for us. Fish fry, we have a truck coming. It'll be outside, so everyone will be able to socially distance. And for all of us, I know it's difficult for all of us to plan what to do as we deal with the pandemic and the Delta virus. So I wish you all luck, and I'll be going to some of your events. Thank you.
Thank you, Lee. So we are going to go next to Eric, and then Den, you are on deck to share next.
Hey, everybody. Your theater is back, as a lot of organizations are. We've got 3 plays coming up over the next few months. We have auditions coming up first, however. Auditions are starting tonight and tomorrow at 7 p.m. at St. Martin's on County and Rivet. We are auditioning a show in November, The Floating Light Bulb, a fun and kooky show with lots of roles available. Cold readings from the script, no experience necessary. Come on down. If you have questions, go to our website. In September, we open our 75th season with a show called 3 Viewings. It's 3 monologues that are done in dramatic and comedic style. Fun, interesting, and definitely something that everyone will engage with. And then in October, we are doing 1 weekend of George Kelly plays, two Kellys, we're calling it, 2 one-act plays. And those are going to be from new directors. So it's their director's showcase to find out whether or not they are going to be part of our full directing squad. So those are a lot of fun. And then looking out even further, the November show itself that we're auditioning for right now, The Floating Light Bulb, will be happening, as I said, in November. Further out, January, I will be directing actually another rollicking comedy called The Outsider. That'll be the 3rd weekend of January. Very funny show, very light. It is political in nature, but nonpartisan, 100% nonpartisan, I promise. So keep your eyes peeled for that. And just so everybody knows, Steeple Playhouse is still under construction. It is progressing. The interior work is being done now. So obviously you can't really see what's going on very much, but we're hoping that within a year that work will be done, depending on, of course, what we find as we build. So if anyone has any of those questions around any of that, just let me know. Thanks.
Thank you, Eric. For anyone else who wants to share before I go to Den, if you go into on the bottom of your screen under reactions, you can raise your hand, and that's an excellent way, or you can just send me a direct chat if you want to share. So now we have Den Santaro from Practice Best Practice, and next after him will be Wendy Hall from New Bedford Festival Theater.
Hi, everybody. Some of you know what Practice Best Practice is about, and some of you don't. But we're running a series of workshops that are for creatives in the community and the wide area. We also have a YouTube site where we keep all of our workshops up. And I'll put that in the chat in a second. But our next workshop, which will be coming up sometime in October, is going to be the Art of Numbers Bookkeeping for Creatives. And I've got a little description in there. We still are working on lining up the panelists. So if you know of a great bookkeeper or somebody who's good at teaching the basics, we're talking about not your taxes, but the things you should track as your year goes on, as you make money, as you spend money on your creative practice, especially if it's a sideline, and free and inexpensive software that will help you do it, that sort of thing. So feel free to contact me with suggestions if you know, if your organization has a great bookkeeper who's dynamic and will be a good presenter or something like that. This is sort of a follow-on to our tax workshop from last winter, which Eric was one of our presenters, and you can see all of our workshops at our website, which I just put in the chat. You can also subscribe to our email list, which is a good way to find out what we're doing and when we're doing it. So, and that subscribe button is on that website too, right at the top. So I will keep it short and go on from there.
Thank you so much, Den. I appreciate that. And next we have Wendy Hall. After Wendy, we'll go to Jocelyn Nunes from the New Bedford Whaling Museum. And now we have Wendy Hall from New Bedford Festival Theater.
Hello, good afternoon, everyone. I'm really excited to announce our 32nd season, and it's the first time ever that we're doing 5 shows in one season. So we're adding 4, which is crazy and exciting all at once. We have our first performance October 22nd and 23rd, and it's the musical The Last 5 Years. Which is a musical by Jason Robert Brown. It's a 2-character show, completely sung through, and it's pretty amazing. We have an amazing cast out of New York for that. That'll be, again, at the Z on the 22nd and 23rd. And we also have a live stream that happens simultaneously with the live in-person performance. So if you're not ready to get back in the theater, there are many options. And then we also have two holiday shows coming up in December. The first is Evita Loca, who is a drag performer out of New York City. John Michael Dias is the person who does Evita Loca. She was with us in June, but she's doing professional Christmas Lady. It's a 75-minute live sung drag show that will be December 3rd. And then on December 4th, we are bringing in another show out of New York City. It's a 3-person not postmodern jukebox, but it's a tribute to the Andrews Sisters. So it's a trio of women, and they sing modern songs, but in a 40s style. So both of those shows are at 8 p.m. So we're really excited to expand our programming and be back live on stage at the Z.
Thank you so much, Wendy. Next, we have Jocelyn Nunes from the New Bedford Whaling Museum. Jocelyn, go ahead.
Hello. Hi, everybody. So we have a lot going on at the museum upcoming for the next few months, but I will try to shorten and pull what is probably the highlights out of that. But for starters, tomorrow for Vaha, because we are still virtual for that, we have a local history guild, race, and the voting block in antebellum New Bedford. So that will take place tomorrow through Zoom at 6 o'clock. We do ask that everybody register. So if you're interested in that conversation, you can head over to our calendar or to the programs page on our website to do so. Upcoming in September, Next week, we welcome the International Panorama Council for a conference. It is virtual, but a small group from the council will be in New Bedford and will be hosting that from inside the museum. You can register online through our website again, but if you're interested, that takes place next Wednesday through Saturday. And then we are hopeful that we either at the end of September or mid-October might have a lecture based around pinnipeds from Newark, and hopeful that that will take place. The date is TBD still. We welcome Manhattan Short Film Festival again. This is something we did a few years back for a couple of years. And then last year they didn't host it virtually, so it kind of took a pause. But it is back. That will be in person in our theater. That'll be on September 30th. That is where you get to vote on which film you would rank as the top. So that is something you can also find shortly on our website and calendar. Let's see. In October, you may have remembered a couple of months ago, I think in the beginning of July, I mentioned it for August. We were doing some paint night classes with painting at Splash New Bedford. We had to postpone those, so that will actually now take place Friday, October 22nd for the adults, and then Sunday, October 24th for the kids. So that is something else that's coming out. We have a couple of Portuguese programs being planned, a lecture. The next AHA night in October, we have sort of an Azorian night that we have going on in our plaza. And then hopefully a book talk at the end of October, depending upon what that looks like with COVID. It might be virtual or in person. And then in November, we have We Are Whalers talk and book signing with Michael Moore. So this is his newest publication. So again, depends on COVID of how that will look, if it'll be in person or virtual. But those are the main things to keep an eye out on. And then of course, Moby Dick Marathon for 2022 in January. So upcoming in 2022, it will be January 7th through the 9th. That's Friday to Saturday, Sunday. It will take much like it did. It'll take place much like it did last year, where we will have the readings pre-recorded. Everybody will know the time, everybody will know the passage that they're reading. So we will do the call for readers. And then they'll be assigned a section of the chapter or chapter of the book to then submit a pre-recorded reading, and then we will sew that together, launch it on the Saturday at noon as we would always do. And then we will have some other programming like we did last year. It will all be virtual, but some of it we might stream from inside the museum and not just through our houses on Zoom. We are hopeful to try to connect with Got You and Moby Dick Brewery again. Last year we were able to offer different food packages to locals within a 5-mile bird's eye radius. So we're hopeful to maybe be able to do that again. That'll sort of take place at the Friday night dinner / the chowder house that we used to do. But we will still have a Friday night lecture, just no dinner, the main marathon, and some extra programming with our Melville scholars. So that's actually hot off the press. Our scholars don't even know just yet. But I'm sharing that with you to help keep the interest up. We have a meeting with our scholars next week or this week. I can't keep track of what week we're on, but we will shortly relay that to them and of course look forward to their involvement in the marathon. So keep an eye out. In October, we will open up the sign up for readers.
Great. Thank you so much, Jocelyn. And please check out the question Wendy asked. I think you just answered it, but she'd like to be a reader. So next we have Don Salerno from the Rotch-Jones-Duff House and Garden Museum. And after Don, we'll go to Ashley Occhino from the New Bedford Art Museum.
Thanks. I'm gonna skip. We do have a lot of events coming up on our calendar. I'm from the RJD Museum, but I guess I would like to most point out, we have a full-time job opening, and the boss is just fantastic. So who wouldn't want to work here? And B, we would love to have people come carve pumpkins, bring a pumpkin, carve a pumpkin for our annual, this is I think our 4th annual pumpkin parade. It just keeps getting kind of bigger and better. We need something like 30 to 40 pumpkins, jack-o'-lanterns carved for this event, which is October 14th. It's great to have community involvement. That was kind of the whole point of having this event, is that community carves, but then the community comes to see the carvings on the 14th. So if you're willing to, get a pumpkin and carve it, you can drop it off by noon, October 14th. And we will display it here at the Rotch-Jones-Duff, 396 County Street. Or as further incentive, we're doing Roach-Toberfest on the 13th, 5 to 8 p.m. in the garden here. We wanted to have like a full-on beer garden, but that's a ton of work. So the shorter, easier version is that we will be serving beer from Moby Dick Brewery. They've agreed to come with 3 different ales or some kind of lagers. I don't know. Don't ask me about the beer, but 3 different kinds of beer and snacks. There's going to be the Ox Cart food truck is going to be here for food, and we'll probably have some children's snacks out as well. So you can come free, have beer, get some food, carve your pumpkin on site. So if that's not incentive enough, I don't know what else to give to you. So that's October 13th between 5 and 8 p.m. It's kind of a drop-in thing. Show up at the garden with your pumpkin and your carving tools, please. I'd welcome you to tell people about that. There's info on our website about it as well. So I'll close with that. And should I oh no, Margo, you're handing it off. Okay, thanks everyone.
Thank you, Don. And I'm handing it off to Ashley Occhino at the Art Museum.
All right, and can you hear me? Nod, yes. Thumbs up.
Yep.
Fantastic. Thank you. Thank you. And thank you, Margo and everyone. So first, I wanted to just mention in connection with the RJD and with Fishing Heritage, because I see Laura dropped something in the chat, I just wanted to mention our past program is still happening. So the 3 organizations got together, and this summer and fall, we've been offering a program called CNB in 3. And essentially, it's a discounted admission ticket to all 3 organizations. The information's on the museum's website. You can visit RJD or Fishing Heritage to find out, but the pass is good through 10/10. So I wanted to mention that. I also put some information in the chat about some great holiday things that the Art Museum has planned. We are still planning to hold our holiday fundraiser at the beginning of December. It will look a little different this year because we want to see you in person, but we want to see you safely. I also wanted to just mention our very amazing Ruth Carter exhibition will be ending. It seems 2 months seems like it's not very far. It will be ending soon. At the end of September, we'll be launching a few online programs in conjunction with that exhibition. If you don't follow the museum on social media or get our e-news, you're missing out. So do please sign up for both of those to get all the details. And the last thing that I'll wrap up with is it is back to school time. And back to school time means for us, adult classes are happening, both watercolor and drawing this fall. And the Learning Studio is back, which means Ricky Rainbowbeard is back. And so we have wonderful virtual programs, both on our YouTube and on New Bedford Cable Access. And so I just wanted to thank Cable Access again for working with Ricky and the Art Museum. Turns out it's very popular in New Jersey. That's one of the statistics that we've gotten back from it. So very, very fun things we learn about our programming that we do. And our members show, I'll end with that. Our members exhibition will be back. Our call will be going out soon, and the show will be up in time for our holiday soiree. So I will throw it back to Margo. Thank you.
Thank you, Ashley. Next, we are going to go to Laura Orleans at the New Bedford Fishing Heritage Center. Laura.
Hello, everybody. So I put in the chat that we also have a full-time job opening for what we're calling, what are we calling it? We're calling it Interpretation and Community Engagement Manager. So Hannah Mooney has moved back to South Carolina. We were very, very sorry to see her go, and she's a difficult person to replace. But if you're interested, the details are on the website. We open our new women's work exhibit tomorrow. So we've been engaged in looking at women's roles in the fishing industry since March of this year. We'll continue that exploration through programs and now the new exhibit through March of next year. I think the exhibit is pretty exciting. I've finally just got it all completely installed this morning, but it features women from Massachusetts, Maine, Rhode Island, and Alaska, and photographs from 3 different photographers. And quotes from about 70 women all told. So there's that. Lastly, I'll just say that we are doing our seafood soiree. This is our annual gala. We've moved to a new venue. Steve Silverstein was extremely gracious and has donated the use of the Black Whale deck, which gives us, we think, a safe COVID safe venue surrounded by the fishing fleet. We have 6 chefs confirmed at this point. It's going to be a fabulous event. So if you like seafood and you want to support us, tickets are available through Brown Paper Ticket, and all the details are on our website. And I'll leave it there. Thank you.
Thank you, Laura. So also Beatrice posted in the chat that there's another full-time position at the Whaling Museum. So lots of opportunities for job seekers there to send to your networks. More wonderful people coming into New Bedford. That's what I think.
Yes, thank you, Steve. So yeah, we have all sorts of things happening, and we are so busy with that I wish we advertised more, but we always end up working too hard, and at the end, when we are ready to advertise, we are like too exhausted to get there. So we are, celebrating tomorrow, and Lee is coming to join us too, so we feel more festive. We have like all sorts of things happening at the same time, which is exciting, as you all that organize events know. We have a site-specific installation by Kate Fraser-Rigo in the Spring Street window that is visible from inside and outside, and it's fabulous and colorful. And she also happened to cover part of the Crapo Gallery with AstroTurf, so it feels like a vacation spot, and we have a piano on it, and we'll have a pianist playing tomorrow, which is super exciting. And we'll have Salty, our artist in residence, coming back from Singapore. She's just flying in, so she's going to be there tomorrow reading this little book with our colleagues. It's called Faculty Relations, and there are some things that we would like to hide occasionally, but she made these poems from them that she was like sitting in the meetings with faculty, and it's kind of interesting to see it because it's pre-pandemic material. And then we have last day of Marks and Pierce exhibition in the space. We have new students exhibition called Glimpse, and we'll also kind of introduce these students to the community. And we have Tracy Cockrell, our artist in residence from last year, working with all our previous artists, 4 artists in residence, and Kate Rigo, and putting their text on the facade of the building. She has also collected their sound and video, so it's going to be kind of happening at the same time. And we should be able to launch our Star Store Stories community project, where we'll collect stories from people. They'll be able to call in and leave a message up to 5 minutes with their story of how the Star Store changed their life, or having it downtown, or maybe they went shopping there with their grandmother or something. So that's going to be open through the end of December.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Viera.
And Lee has
I'm one of them. I went to the Star Store as a little kid.
Oh,
that's
and
great.
Lee has a note. Yep.
No, I just want to say Salty's one of my heroines. When we went virtual in April, we kind of pivoted on a dime. We were the last AHA was the last public event before New Bedford shut down. She wrote to me and said, well, I could still do my dance party, even though they're sending me home. I live in Singapore. And so if I get up at 8 o'clock in the morning and do the dance party for AHA, it will be at 8 o'clock at night. And it was just that moment of clarity that you thought, this is going to be a whole different moment in our time period. But I thought, yes, we had the first international performer at AHA come, and it was Salty. So she is totally my heroine.
Yeah, and she's flying for that. She's also gonna like finally gather her belongings that she couldn't for like a year and a half. So it's kind of exciting moment. And yeah, she's doing another project with you, Lindsay, right? Cool.
Yes.
Yeah, that's why I lit up, because she also held we showed that film, that 18-minute film that she'll be showing this Sunday, last year in April as well. or maybe it was May. It's all a blur, but we had folks from all over the world who kind of tuned in for that, and it was so incredible. She's such a lover of New Bedford, so I hope we can give her that love back and show up to all of her programs.
Cool. Excellent. Thank you, Lindsay and Viera and Lee. And I have one note, since Patrice didn't have access to take herself off mute. Patrice at Sea Glass Theater Company, they have their Wailing Women World premiere October 2nd at the First Unitarian Church. It's a 4-piece orchestra and 6 women singers telling the story of New Bedford and Nantucket women and their connection to whaling. So check that out. And this is a final call for anyone else wanting to give an update within the next 2 to 3 minutes. Anyone else? Thank you everyone for coming today. Lee, do you have any final parting words, or Lindsay?
I just want to thank everyone for not only attending, but for staying. It's such a mark of respect to your community members when you really stay and get the opportunity and spend the time to have the opportunity to listen to all that's going on. The 3 of us organizing it, deeply appreciative of your commitment and the way you show connection to your fellow cultural workers. I think that's me. Thanks. See you tomorrow.
Thank you, Lee.
Thanks everyone for coming. Have a great day. Enjoy the sunshine today if you can.
Take care, everyone. Bye.